December 23, 1891, Spokane Daily Chronicle, Spokane Falls, Washington. A Shaker Christmas. No one probably celebrates the glad Christmas holiday in a more peculiar way than do the Shakers, those strange yet industrious celibates who were brought over from England considerably over a century ago by the good old Mother Ann Lee. There are several colonies of these queer people in the United States, and all enjoy the same pleasures, if there can be such a thing in their lives, and all believe in the same doctrines. Years ago, these honest but misguided people discovered that the Scriptures directed all men and women to live apart. They believe that because the Messiah did not marry, it is a sin for them to do so, and consequently, there is but one love in their lives, and that a love of religion. The Shakers have a manner and style peculiarly their own and worship God in every breath. Believing as they do in the Messiah, they think it a duty to celebrate the birth of the Savior, and their service on Christmas Day is most beautiful and impressive. The remark, "Still is a Shaker meeting," has often been heard, and these who have attended a meeting of these devout people know that a word is never spoken until the Spirit moves. And so it goes from Sunday to Sunday until Christmas comes, which to them means a day of the greatest devotion. The day to them does not bring the joys, pleasures, and dissipations of the world. There is no giving of gifts, no belief in St. Nicholas, nor Christmas tree, and no pleasures. In fact, nothing but prayer. No preparations are made for the glad festival. The morning before Christmas, the celibates move toward the little church in couples. The men go by themselves and dress in the conventional black, with broad-brimmed hats, and gaze straight before them. They never smile, for to smile is a sin in their belief. The women follow the men and wear Shaker bonnets of yellow straw and gray gowns, and look prim and quaint. A large white handkerchief covers the chest in primitive simplicity. Quietness reigns throughout the day, never a word being spoken. In fact, the Spirit does not move, and the people stand there for hours like statues. At sundown, they go to the dormitories and retire. Christmas morning, they go to the church again and pass the holiday in prayer, song, and religious glorification. They stand perfectly quiet and mute until the Spirit moves, when each one gives his or her experience. For on this day, above all, they delight in testifying to their great and complete happiness. A Shaker church is entirely different from the world's people's church. Instead of seats or pews, as are usually seen in churches, there is a big open space, and the men and women range themselves on opposite sides of the room. One of the elders makes a short address. Then all is quietness. After about half an hour, a dozen or so of the younger people, either male or female, or perhaps both, enter the center of the space and begin a solemn march. The Shakers sing beautifully, and their tunes are remarkably pretty, sprightly, and quick in character, and have a wonderfully fascinating air. The rich, deep bass voices harmonize perfectly with the clear, sweet, and high tenors and sopranos. Almost irresistibly, the feet and hands of all commence, keeping time with rhythmical beats. Soon the entire body of Shakers are moving around the singers. As the music increases, the men and women circling around become so imbued with the beating of the notes that their bodies swing and rock, their feet dance and shuffle, their hands and arms swing and beat the air, all in perfect keeping with the music. This grows more intense until they all drop from sheer fatigue. Quietness again reigns for nearly an hour, when the same performance is gone over and then over again until sundown, when all repair to the dormitories to enjoy the only meal in the year in each other's company, for on every other day the men and women eat by themselves. The Christmas dinner of the Shakers is not like the Christmas dinner of the world's people. There are no wines, fruits, nor delicacies. They have turkeys, ducks, chickens, and plain bread and butter and vegetables of every kind, well cooked and in the greatest abundance. The women occupy one side of the table, the men the other. The elder sits at the head and invokes divine blessing. Then each man and woman rises alternately, and lifting their right hand says, "God is love." Then they begin eating, and during the meal not a word is spoken, each one helping himself or herself to what they desire. They drink an enormous quantity of milk during the meal. At the conclusion of the Christmas dinner, all rise and sing. The clear voices of the celibates make the banquet room ring with soft and charming melody. The hands and feet of all keep time. After the song, the elder raises his eyes heavenward and chants a prayer, in which all join, after which they march from the room in couples, the men together, and the women by themselves, and go to their dormitories. The remainder of the night, while the world outside is enjoying itself in every conceivable dissipation, is given up to song and prayer, and all night long the Shaker sisters and brothers are heard through the halls. The Shakers are kind-hearted and generous. They are very hospitable, and it is one of their principles to entertain and honor all who come into their little world. For days before Christmas, they find great pleasure in sending good things to the poor in the neighborhood, and no matter how poor a man may be, he is sure of a good Christmas dinner if he lives in the neighborhood of a colony of Shakers. Buffalo Express. December 23, 1891. Spokane Daily Chronicle, Spokane Falls, Washington. The Old Rural Christmas. How many of the young people know that some 40 years ago, 9/10 of the children in America had to enjoy Christmas with only such sums as they had saved up for months, often a penny at a time. Yet so it was. Not one father in 10 thought of giving a boy Christmas money. The big family dinner and such fun as cost nothing was enough. Indeed, save for candy and firecrackers, there was little to spend money for. Robinson Crusoe and Parley's Tales were almost the only storybooks, though the people had some old standbys on their shelves, and the Old English Reader was like other poor, always with them. There were moral lessons, a few, and tracts enough, but no gorgeously lettered volumes of childish song, no fairy stories shining in covers of blue, green, and gold. The story that artists for the earliest juvenile books had to label their pictures, "This is a horse," "This is a cow," etc., is no doubt an exaggeration, but the toys really needed it. Many a little girl made a doll by dressing up a crooked-necked squash. Rag babies were the rule. A doll such as any child of parents above the grade of paupers may now have for Christmas would then have excited the amazement of the neighborhood, and a doll that would open and shut its eyes, well, language is lacking to set forth the furor such a wonderful creation would have excited. It is an actual fact that the purchase of such a doll, by order from Cincinnati, at a cost of $2, was made matter of church discussion in one town as late as 1848. The neighbors finally decided it was all right, as the man's little girl was an invalid and needed amusement. She certainly got it, if company was any amusement, for every child for miles around was crazy to see that doll. As for paying $10 for a doll, the people would have asked the court to name a guardian for the man who did it, as one unfit to manage his own affairs. $10 would buy an acre of good timbered land in half of this country. Wood carving was an envied accomplishment in those days. The hired hand, who had some skill with a jackknife, had a crowd of children after him on all possible occasions. The father who could carve a human-looking figure out of a walnut bark was a hero to his family. J. H. Beadle.